Hello BookTube, my name is Adrian and today I'm bringing you my July TBR. So I read quite a few books in the month of June, but you'll have to wait until next week to see my wrap up. But I've already picked the list of books that I'm going to attempt to read in the month of July, and I have quite a few of them, which is very ambitious, but lately I've been reading a lot in each month. So the odds of me getting through this, if I continue on the trend I've been on, it's pretty decent, but if I don't, that's okay. I've got plenty of time to get them done. I have 12 books on my TBR for the month of July, which is kind of insane, but we're going to go through them really quickly here so you can see what all I'm hoping to read in the month of July, and hopefully I can get to all of them, but we'll have to see. So, the first 3 books on my TBR are actually a trilogy, and that is The Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy by Jenny Han. This is a bind-up of all 3 books, which those books are The Summer I Turned Pretty, It's Not Summer Without You, and We'll Always Have Summer. Everybody seems to be a really big fan of Jenny Han and her To All the Boys I Loved Before series. I was not a huge fan of To All the Boys I Loved Before, but this was her series that came before that. I'm pretty sure this story involves a love triangle. I don't know all the details, obviously. But this is the first 3 books I'm hoping to get to in July. I've heard good things about these ones, and so I'm hoping that I like these more than I liked To All the Boys I Loved Before. So that is the first giant book that I was hoping to get to in July. The next 3 books on my TBR we'll get to are all books that were on my unhaul shelf. They are all books that if you saw my mid-year book freakout tag that should have gone up on Wednesday, you will recognize these next 3 books as books that were on the shelf of books that I have to read by the end of the year or else I will unhaul them. And so the first one of those books is Teardrop by Lauren Kate. Lauren Kate is the author of the Fallen series, which I never read, but I picked this one up at Walmart a long time ago just on a whim. Thought the cover was pretty. I remember thinking the synopsis was interesting. I do not remember the synopsis now. But this is, like I said, this is one of the books on my list of books that I need to read before the end of the year or else they will be unhauled. So that is why this book is on my TBR. The next 2 books were also on that shelf and are a duology, and those books are Passenger and Wayfarer by Alexandra Bracken. These books were really hyped around BookTube when they first came out, and I have been really interested in them since then. I believe they feature time travel very heavily, and so I'm really interested to see these books, but I just never got around to reading them, even though I've owned both of them since the day they came out. So I have no excuse not to read these, and they are on that shelf of books that I need to read before the end of the year or they're going away. So these are also on my TBR. Hopefully I can get to them as well. Up next on my TBR is My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. This story is a historical fiction, magical realism, retelling kind of thing of the story of Lady Jane Grey. I believe she was the Queen of England for like 9 days before she was beheaded. So I'm very interested to see how this book goes. Because this is magical realism, and I don't usually like magical realism, but I've heard really great things about this, and I read the prologue of this and it was really funny, so I'm really interested to see how the rest of this book is. So this is on my TBR for July. Also on my TBR for July is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. So this book is a classic. I have not read it yet. I plan to read it in July because the companion novel to My Lady Jane is called My Plain Jane. It comes out in July, and I am probably going to pick it up then, but I'm pretty sure that book is a retelling of this story and a reimagining of this story, which means that in order to fully grasp that book, I should probably read this one. So my goal is to read this book before My Plain Jane comes out so that I can kind of get a grip on the story beforehand. Up next on my TBR is this very beat up and gross library copy of The Thousandth Floor by Catherine McGee. I have really been interested in this book for quite a long time. I believe this book follows several different people as they live in dystopian New York, where all of New York lives in one skyscraper, and the farther up in the skyscraper you live, the more wealthy you are. And so I believe this book follows the girl who lives on the top floor, as well as some other people who live farther down. And I'm very interested to see how this book goes. And so yeah, this is another book that I'm wanting to pick up in the month of July. The next book on my July TBR is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This book was getting a lot of hype around booktube last year, and I never got around to reading it, but it is now on my TBR for this month because it sounded really interesting at the time. Some people were comparing this book to A Court of Thorns and Roses because it does involve fae, but I believe that's the only reason this book is similar to A Court of Thorns and Roses. So I'm very interested in this book. This book follows a girl who is a painter, and she paints for fae. One day a fae prince asks her to paint a portrait of him, and she accidentally paints human sorrow in his eyes. This is a crime, I suppose, and so he basically kidnaps her and forces her to live with him as payment for this sin, I guess. I don't know much else about this book, but I know it was really hyped. Some people loved it, some people hated it. I'm interested to see what I think of this book. And the last two books on this TBR are actually the first two books in a series. I think there's going to be more. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just these two. But those books are The Diabolic and Empress by S.J. Kincaid. These books are sci-fi books, and I am very interested to read them. I tried to read The Diabolic one other time, and it did not go well. I struggle with science fiction reading it physically, but now I have the audiobook of both of these, and so I'm going to try and listen to those and follow along with the hardcover, just to kind of see how it goes. But yeah, I am interested in reading this one. From what I understand, the plot of The Diabolic is that diabolics are basically androids or robots, AI, that are created to protect a single person. So they bond with that person, and their job is to protect them. And the main character of this book is a diabolic, and she is bonded to a girl who, the way to protect her is to become her. She has to impersonate this girl in court in order to protect her. That's the gist of the story as I remember it. And so yeah, we'll see how I feel about these books. I have heard that Diabolic was really good and Empress was even better, so I'm definitely interested to actually get these read. Alright guys, so those are the 12 books that I'm hoping to read in the month of July. I am probably overestimating how much I can read. This is a very ambitious TBR because these are also not small books, most of them, so we'll see how many of these I actually get finished. But I'm very excited to get into basically all of these books and to see how I like them. So yeah, that is all that I have for this video, you guys. If you have read any of these books and have enjoyed them, I would love to know your thoughts on them down below. And that's all I have for this video. I post videos every Monday and Friday. Monday is a weekly reading vlog, and Friday is some other content. So if you like this video and want to see more of what I do, come back and check me out on those days. Or if you want to see more of my face in your subscription box, you can click subscribe down below. But clicking subscribe does not give you notifications anymore. So if you want notifications for when I post, you will also have to click that little bell icon down there as well. So that is all I have for this video today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.